This is Doug DeMuro. Now, you may have seen a couple of weeks ago, James May roasted my cars, specifically my Ford GT.
One, it's a tribute car. I don't really like that. I don't like retro styling. It was too big, and it has a deeply unpleasant association with Jeremy Clarkson.
Which made me very sad. So I have decided to have a call with James to show him my other vehicles to see if maybe I could change his mind and show him that I have some taste.
So, I suppose, actually you want to have a pop at me for roasting your GT.
I was thinking about it. The two problems that you brought up. First, you said that you liked me, so that was good.
Yes, I do like you. You're all right.
The two problems that you brought up were that it was a tribute car and that Clarkson had owned one. It is a tribute car, and I don't love tribute cars really all that much either, to be totally honest. And so I was like, that's kind of a reasonable point. Just make a new one. But the problem is then they did make a new GT, and it's not quite as, I like mine better, the manual transmission and V8.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, yeah. I'm a raging hypocrite anyway, because I've got a tribute car. I've got the Alpine A110.
Right.
It's completely modern underneath, and it's very well thought out. It's fantastic, great fun car to drive. It's light, it's responsive, it makes do with the small edge, all clever stuff, but it looks like something from the 60s.
Yeah, but the thing is, the 60s is when cars look really good, so it makes sense, right?
Well, yeah, you do have a point. I think part of the problem with tribute cars is, I've ranted about this before, I'll probably get a bit boring about it, but you take the freedom of 60s styling, which was quite radical in many ways and very creative. It was a new movement. Things moved on from the 50s very quickly.
Right.
But they were quite free. Those ideas, that styling language doesn't square with modern safety requirements.
Right. So I will say, I agree with that mostly, but two cars that have done a good job of doing that were the Ford GT and that Alpine. A lot of tribute cars, they've had to really mess with stuff and it doesn't look good. The Ford GT, it's always surprised me with the Ford GT, how they were able to take a 60s race car that was largely free of regulation and turn it into a 2000s road car after so many more regulations and stuff, and actually stay pretty true to the design.
I think the thing that's really interesting about those, not just tribute cars, but also retro style cars. So if you take the Mustang, the new Mustang, the GT is a particularly good example, but let's say my Alpine and the Alpha 4C, they all look fantastic in profile. The profile proportions and the size of the wheels and the position, they're all great. But from the front and the back, they always look a little bit fat and blobby because they have to raise the headlights for regulations. They have to make the back crash-worthy and so on and so on.
Your other complaint about the Ford GT was that Clarkson owned one. And to be honest, this has been a bigger problem for me than for anybody else because he had some reliability problems with his, I guess. And I get people every day tweeting me, that car is so unreliable, that's a terrible car. Dude, it's unreal how much this has pervaded in our society.
Since I was there, and I know, the unreliability issues were largely with the owner rather than the car. It was mainly about the alarm and the alarm locking him out of the car, which is what it's supposed to do, let's be honest, if you're unauthorized. And he just didn't understand how to use the flipper and what have you.
Well, and I don't even have whatever system he had on it. I think it was installed in the European cars. There were a few dozen, and I don't have it in mine.
It's a tracker. It's the thing that insurance companies in Britain demand because there was such a lot of theft of supercars. A lot of them were being stolen and then shipped out to the Middle East and the Far East. They just disappear. So you have to have a tracker with anything like that. But I've got one on my 458. I've got one on my Porsche. I had one on my previous 458. I've never had a moment's problem with them, except when I deliberately, don't deactivate it and move the car to see if they're listening, and they are. Within 10 seconds, they ring up and say your car's
really?
Yeah.
No way.
So can I just say, behind you, we're sort of very much in Richard Hammond territory here. And I think I've seen that car on one of your. Is that the US Spec Defender, as you call it?
Yeah, they made it in the States with an automatic and a V8 and no roof, and that's what mine is. So I daily drive it, and it's great when it's working, which it isn't always.
Is that really? That isn't surprising. Is that because it was made in the Midlands of Britain? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. But it's got character. Everybody says, well, why don't you just get a Jeep? Jeep's
Well,
Heroes kind of does
they
it.
have almost turned it into a Jeep Wrangler, haven't they?
They had that was the primary competition, except it was twice as expensive at the time.
No.
And still to this day, yeah, right. And still to this day, so Defenders, North American spec Defenders like mine will sell for like $60,000-$70,000 here in the States.
Really?
Which people in Britain are blown away by because Defenders are like a dime a dozen and it's disasters.
Well, that's a lot of money for a car that doesn't work.
I consider it to be the worst value per mile operating in the entire car world. Probably. Yeah. Can I get your take on my other vehicle here?
Yes. Well,
so this car, this is a 1999 Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon convertible.
I know this one.
Now I believe. Well, I'm not. You're a car god. I want to hear your thoughts on this vehicle.
Well, you've said before. I can't remember where you said this originally, but you said this was the world's ugliest car.
It's up there. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Was it there? I just saw it. I think as you pivoted your.
Yeah.
Yes. Now you see, it's
to me it looks like a G-Wagon that's been in Photoshop. People come up to me and say, "Did you do this yourself? Did you shorten it?" Well, no. They made them this way for God knows what reason, and they sold very few of them. And
well, they sell very few G-Wagons anyway, don't they? I mean, it's not a massive seller at the best.
I guess so. It depends where you are. I mean, here in Southern California, they're pretty common. I guess they're now kind of and in London. I mean, they're running around London. You see it.
Not like Range Rovers though. You still see Range Rovers.
Yeah, they're more expensive and they're more compromised and that sort of thing. But this one has a power convertible top. So I have the market cornered on convertible SUVs here in this garage. That's
it's a very important market to corner, that one,
Greg. Right.
Let's do it again. We won't be able to do this yet because of lockdown, but I'll show you I'll show you my old Ferrari 308 and why that's rubbish. I mean, I challenge your Land Rover for uselessness with my 308.
Yeah.
So we'll do this again down in my secret dusty underground bunker. And look at all this old junk.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Man, I would love it too. I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that was good. And I think what I'm going to do now, it's very nice to meet Doug, having, seen him on YouTube and what have you all this time. I haven't really met him, have I? I've only just talked to him at the computer, but I'm going to invite him back virtually, lockdown or no lockdown, because he's in California and I'm in London, but I'm going to invite him into my secret underground bunker and show him a few of my toys. And he will say, "Oh, it's England, I expect it's very damp." And it is.
Well, that was an interesting Friday morning for me. Definitely made my day/week/year talking to James May. That was really cool. And it does seem like maybe he doesn't hate my cars after all. Anyway, I would love to check out the James May secret bunker, so let's get that scheduled. Thank you, James.
Like, comment, subscribe.